the international community had a presence to ensure the highest standard of probity and transparency in the conduct of the elections. In January 1996, in the middle of the preparations for the elections, Brigadier Mada Bio forced Captain Valentine Strasser out of office as chairman of the NPRC and immediately launched a campaign to postpone the elections. The banner of that campaign was Peace Before Elections. A national consultative conference comprising representatives of political parties, the army, the police, trade unions, women's organizations, the churches and mosques, and other organizations of civil society was convened in February 1996 to pronounce on the matter. I should add that in attendance were also representatives of the international community. The overwhelming majority of the delegates to the conference supported the holding of the elections. Incidentally, the Revolutionary United Front was invited to participate in the democratic process, clearly illustrating its attitude towards legitimate democratic principles and procedures. The RUF categorically refused to honor the said invitation. And so the elections were held on 26th to 27th of February 1996. There were observers from the Commonwealth, the Organization of African Unity, OAU, the African American Institute, the African American Labor Center, the Commonwealth Trade Union Council, and the World Council of Churches, all coordinated by no less a body than the United Nations itself. At the close of the polling, and long before the official declaration of the results, the international observers made a joint statement on the 29th of February 1996, in which they said that despite setbacks, they had witnessed a remarkably peacefully, orderly, and transparent conduct of the vote, which led them to conclude, and I quote, that the results will genuinely reflect the will of the people of Sierra Leone and usher in an era of democracy, end of quote. Mr. President, having failed to prevent the holding of the elections through political maneuvering, the anti-democratic forces within the army and their RUF allies launched a campaign of terror and intimidation in those parts of the countryside where the rebels had a presence to scare away people from voting. Many innocent men and women had their hands cut off. Some were branded with hot iron, and many more were mutilated in ways that I cannot describe in public. But no intimidation could overcome the determination of the people to put an end to military rule and all its associated abuses. Mr. President, the elections which brought my government into office were more than an electoral exercise to replace one government with another. They were no less an opportunity, indeed a historic opportunity, for the people of Sierra Leone to put an end to nearly 30 years of undemocratic rule, the last 4 of which were an outright military dictatorship. Mr. President, in retrospect, the victories of the people, first against the political sleight of hand to stop the elections, and then the campaign of terror and intimidation to scare away the voters from the polling booths, seem to have left the reactionary forces in our country with only one remaining avenue to their objective: the unconstitutional overthrow of any civil government. And that was precisely what happened on the 25th of May. The people of Sierra Leone have responded to the coup in a manner which is unique in the history of Africa. Thousands of citizens, some out of fear for their lives and other human rights violations, simply abandoned their homes and their country, moved into neighboring countries, declaring they would rather live as refugees outside Sierra Leone than stay under the rule of the illegal junta. Those who stayed behind have refused to go to work and in various ways refused to cooperate with the junta. This is the manifestation of the determination of Sierra Leoneans never to surrender their hard-won democracy. The struggle underway in my country is between the unarmed millions defending the cause of democracy and the armed reactionary clique of mutinous soldiers and their RUF cohorts. In embarking on that perilous struggle, the people of Sierra Leone were never in doubt as to where the sheer military advantage lay. What continues to sustain the determined resistance of the people and to fortify their courage is the belief and the expectation that the international community cannot and will not let them down. Indeed, the belief that whatever hardship they are facing at the moment, right will ultimately triumph over might. Mr. President, no one has seen the reign of terror unleashed by the regime on the defenseless citizenry or witnessed the daily looting, rape, and other brutalities which have now become a way of life in Sierra Leone and can mistake this for peace. There is no peace in Sierra Leone. What is happening is that the horror which the RUF had inflicted on the rural communities, the killings, the amputation of limbs, the looting, the arbitrary and illegal seizure of private property of all kinds, and many other crimes have now been generalized to encompass the urban centers as well. To further compound their assault on innocent civilians, the illegal junta has finally resorted to the laying of anti-personnel landmines throughout the country and within the capital city itself. I need not spell out what a horrific act this represents as far as innocent men, women, children are concerned, as they begin to fall victim of these hidden devices. Mr. President, this was precisely what my government was set out to avert. In my inaugural statement as president, I made the pursuit of peace and the end of the rebel war my most urgent of priorities.